Welcome to Around the Exchange Table, where we're serving up stories of culture, connection, and community. Each episode will share real experiences from students, host families, and coordinators who make international exchange possible. So pull up a chair and let's explore the world of cultural exchange one story at a time. Hello, and welcome to Around the Exchange Table, serving up stories of culture, connection, and communities. I'm Sandrine Clement, your host, and joining me today is host dad Jessie Jefferson. We're going to talk about how Jessie and his wife found family through hosting. But before we dive in, Jessie, I'd love if you could start by telling us a little bit about you and your family.
So we live in Arkansas. It's a big town named Flippin, Arkansas. People make fun of that, so that's always fun. I like to tell people that we have more cows than people. I can't prove that, but it could be true. I'm a school teacher. You can see I'm in my classroom right now. My wife is she's the high school librarian. She's right across the hall from me. And yeah, so we've been married 17 years, met in college. She moved up here. We're in Flippin. This is where I graduated. I graduated here in 2001, and we met down at Arkansas Tech in Russellville, and she moved up here for me. So here we are, and we were married, and she still had a couple years of college. Her mom said, "Hey, don't have any kids till you're done with college," and we did that well. And then she graduated college. Her mom said, "Where are the grandbabies?" And the grandbabies weren't there, and they never came. We tried, and it was kind of a tough thing for the family, for our marriage. Everybody else my age was having kids. My sister, I'm the oldest, my sister's having kids. My brother started having kids. And it just kind of felt like we were being left behind, and you kind of start asking questions as to why us? We obviously love kids. We're both school teachers. Why is it not happening for us? So I remember I went on a trip. We took a trip to Europe, and I remember going, and I've gone to church my whole life. Church is very important to me. It's, my relationship with my God is very important. So I went over on a trip to Europe, and I thought, man, maybe God's just not listening to me in America. So I'll pray in the biggest churches in Europe. And I remember praying really hard for kids at the biggest churches that we went to, and you kind of come home and you think things are going to change, and nothing changed. So
That's so obviously it must have been a very difficult time for you to go through. And so it didn't seem like you ever thought that it was going to be in the cards for you to become a parent. And that's until one day you met a student in your classroom that changed absolutely everything. And I'd love if you can tell us a bit more about meeting the students, which is Guenola from France, and how that impacted you.
So I was a pretty new teacher. I was 30, and we usually get exchange students at the beginning of the year, and she didn't walk in until almost the middle of September. And she walked in, and my classroom was full. I had 29 kids. I have 30 chairs. So there was only one chair left, and it was right next to me. So I told her that she won the lottery, and she gets to sit right next to me. And I kind of, whenever she walked in, she introduced herself, and of course I couldn't understand her at all. She had a very thick French accent, and she was a pretty girl. It's just you could tell she was full of life. It's just really hard to understand her. You had to watch her mouth, and whenever she came in, like after about a week, she told me that she had come from another school that was close, and the host family, she had some troubles with the siblings in the host family. And that spilled over into school. And she said that the kids at the other school wouldn't talk to her. They couldn't understand her. They wouldn't try to make the time to listen to her. And whenever she told me that, I was like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make this girl feel like this is America. Like, I feel like where we live is a very welcoming place. Like, we're in the Bible Belt. We're in the South. Like, we're a lot of things. Like, we're not the fast paced everything else. So I wanted her to see that. So it was hard to understand her, and I made it my goal to to really listen to her. So over the next month or so, she came in, and I would shut everything down so that I could talk to her and look at her and see what she had to say. And we just started building a relationship there. And she had moved host families, I guess. She had changed. That's why she had come to our school in September. And the new host family, like, they were very strict, very, like, maybe too, like, I would say too strict. But they wouldn't let her go out. They wouldn't let her go hang out with friends either. They were afraid that they would, they would get involved with alcohol or anything else that's around here. So she was telling me after building a month of a relationship, she said, "Man, like, I came here to get experiences, and I can't go anywhere. I can't hang out with friends. I don't have any friends." Like, and my wife and I, we were going to go do something that weekend, and I just said, "Hey, I'll get a hold of your host family and see if they'll let you go with us." So whenever I called them, they were like, "You can have her all weekend if you want. Like, just take her, go out and do stuff." So we went. I don't even remember what we did. We might have went. Well, my family, we live on a farm, so we might have went out to the farm. I think I took her fishing one time. Pretty much anything that we did on the weekends, she would do. So I remember bringing her home that first weekend, and I was very thankful to her host family. I said, "Thank you for letting her come with us." And really, I was that lifeline into a new world. Like, so whenever we did stuff on the weekends, we would go get her, no matter what it was. And so she spent a lot of time with us, and we love Guenola. We still talk to her. I called her yesterday. So yeah, we still have a very good relationship. We went over to Europe. We saw her this summer. So Guenola is the one that made me think maybe I could do this.
It sounds like you really built a special relationship and got to help an exchange student for the first time. And I know you've mentioned previously that when you met Ganola and you got to spend this time with her and got to take her places and got to help her see America, the America that you wanted to share with her, that was the first time that you felt like a father and like a parent. What was that like for that moment? What was that like for you and your wife to realize that?
So we had kind of accepted the fact that, hey, we haven't had kids, and we were not trying to not have kids. So maybe this isn't going to happen. And so whenever, you get that chance, and you have somebody that kind of relies on you to show them things, and I was excited to do that. I was excited to show her, hey, this is how we work the cows, this is how we fish the creek that goes into our farm. Like, I hadn't had anybody new in my life in so long. Like, so that was nice. And whenever she went home, like, that was tough for me. Like, that was whenever I realized, like, maybe she had more of an impact on me than I thought. So
Such a big impact that after meeting Ganola, obviously, I know you didn't start hosting right away, but eventually you decided to take in Miguel from Spain. Can you tell us a little bit about this next step in your experience with foreign exchange students?
So yeah, I think it was, Miguel had come in, and he was a student of mine. I had him in class. Miguel was a funny kid. He was from Spain. Everybody loved him. He was fun to be around. And this was 2019, 2020. So everybody knows what happened in 2020. The world was starting to shut down, and he and his host family were starting to not get along. And I guess they had called the company and said, "Hey, we don't know what you're going to do with him, but he can't be here anymore." So Miguel was very worried about where's he going to stay? Like, what's he going to do? Is he going to be moved? Like, this was in March of 2020, and Spain was starting to get shut down with COVID. Spain was one of the most strict between Spain and Italy. Like, they were strict, and he didn't know what he was going to do. And my wife was Miguel's advising teacher. So Miguel was telling her that, and she said, she talked to me, and she said, "What are we waiting on?" Like, we just need to fill out the paperwork and give this kid a bed to sleep in. Like, surely we could at least finish out the school year. It was March. So we filled out the paperwork, and they came and did their home visits, whatever they have to do. And We didn't really know if we could do it, but we were school teachers. We were used to working with teenagers, so that wasn't the worry. It was the waking them up, feeding them dinner. We didn't know if we could do that. So yeah, so Miguel moved in on a Thursday, and that Friday, everything in our world shut down. The schools closed, and so we had a lot of time with Miguel. A lot of time with Miguel. Anytime you're stuck in a place with people, it can get tense. And but Miguel, he came, and we still had to do things. We still had to feed the cows. We still had to do things around the farm. And luckily, where we are is such a rural place that the restrictions weren't as tight. We could still go, and restaurants were open. Like, you could go get food and bring it home. Like, we could still go to the park. Like, we could do things. So, and we were in conversations with Miguel's parents pretty often. And they, whenever we didn't go back to school, they didn't know what was going to happen. And we didn't know what was going to happen either. And he had some friends. There were some exchange students from another school that he was friends with. So they were still able to get together. So yeah, after Miguel,
That's nice.
we thought, well, we already had the paperwork filled out. We may as well give this a try.
I'm seeing a pattern here of like helping the kids is one of the reasons why you want to do that. And I think that's such a great reason for hosting. So um I'd love if you can say, how did hosting Miguel shape your decision to continue? Because you've now been hosting for many years. So how did that happen?
Yeah. So after you'll probably laugh. So will other people. My dad was very strict on me, and you always say, like, I'm not going to be like my parents, because that's your biggest fear. You don't want to be like your parents when you're a teenager. You don't, But what I found is that's what you know. So I was pretty strict with Miguel. Being a guy myself, there were some things that I had issues with. Like when Miguel would tell me he didn't have time to do his homework, and I'm like, dude, like, we don't have time to do it. Like, we're literally have nothing else to do. Like, you can do your homework. It's 24 hours of nothing right now. So, and I remember the moment I decided, hey, we should probably try hosting a girl, because I've been a teenage boy, and whenever I was a teenage boy, I was in every sport, and I had a job, and I kept the grades, and I had a girlfriend, and I had the same amount of hours in a day as teenage boys do now. So I was like, I've been a teenage boy. It's hard for me to not judge a teenage boy, but I've never been a teenage girl. So we got our first host student that was with us full time. Her name was Sari. She's from Switzerland. She moved in, and we learned a lot that year. That was Miguel was of course, it was COVID. It was kind of a weird thing anyways. But Sari came in, and I wouldn't say that it was normal school, but we were at school. Everybody's wearing masks, and she's from Switzerland. She's German Swiss. So she was a very organized, very by the book, very different from Miguel. So we learned a lot with Sari when she came in. And what I learned was that I truly had never been a teenage girl. And so when she's going through things, I had to sit there and listen instead of coming up with an answer or automatically. So I had to change. And I think in the post that I had made, I had said that hosting girls had made me softer. And that's kind of what I meant. Like, I had to sit there and listen. I had to learn something. I'm probably a better husband now because I listen better. My wife will not agree with that, but it's probably very true. So I had to change. I had to change myself, and I think we've been doing this now. We hosted Sari. She was from Switzerland, and then we hosted Barcha. She was from the Czech Republic. And then Gloria from Italy. And then who? Then I think Katka from the Slovakia. Am I missing some? Hold on, let me look. I got some flags back there. Got Guenola. Yeah. Yeah. So we went from Gloria in Italy to Keka in Slovakia, and then Carolina from Sweden last year, and now we have Kina from Norway. So the girls, once we hosted a girl, I told my wife, I said, let's host another girl. Like I was much more patient with the girls, and I learned a little bit what my dad said. Of course, I come from a family. It's me. I'm the oldest, and then I have a sister who's 3 years younger, and then a brother who's 9 years younger than me. And we always joke that my sister's the golden child, and that's because Dad was always different with her. And Dad told me a long time ago. He said, "Whenever you have a daughter, it's going to be different. You'll understand." So whenever we started hosting girls, I understood. I understood what he meant, and I think last year we took Carolina down to we took her to Memphis to watch the Justin Timberlake concert. And I remember we wanted to Uber in. We didn't want to drive in because we didn't have to pay for parking. And I asked the Uber, I said, "Do you have any kids?" And he said, "Oh yes, I've got, I don't know how many girls and how many sons." And I said, "Well, which was easier?" And he said, "I don't know." He said, "I don't know which was easier, boys or girls." He said, "But boys, when they grow up, they leave the house and they're the men of their own house." And he said, "Girls will love you forever and take care of you forever." And after hosting some girls, I understand what he was saying. So yeah, Miguel, if we send a message to Miguel, of course he responds. But those girls, they're I think Carolina still talks to us 2 or 3 times a week. Like they're still in contact with us. They're still very active in our lives. So yeah, so the girls have been a different pace for me.
And like you said, they make you softer. They changed you as a person. So obviously that they changed you, something happened with you. That's what hosting does. Do you feel like what else did they bring into your home? What else do you feel like they brought into your life through all these girls that you've hosted over the years?
They've all wanted to kind of bring a little bit of their home into our home. It's always fun to talk about Christmas and how different it is, because it is very different in Slovakia and the Czech Republic. I guess in the Czech Republic, and this may be true in a lot of European places, it's not just about Santa Claus. There's also Jesus and a devil that comes. And we always joked with Barcha that if you were a good girl, you got presents, things like that. But if you were bad, the devil would put you in a bag and bring you to America for a school year. So I mean, it's fun to see their traditions, and they want to cook their meals, and it's the same with us. Like we want them to try chocolate gravy. Like chocolate gravy is a big Southern thing, and that's not true everywhere. Like that's not a thing, and it's always fun to see people love or hate even part of your life. So that's kind of what they bring into our house. Is it's a new culture. It's a new year every year for us. So
The year of discovery. Every single year they bring something different and you bring something down to them as well. And that brings me to my next question, because a lot of time, and I'm sure a lot of people listening to this will think the same thing. People here feel like they don't have anything to offer. They feel like their small town, where they live, and you say that you live yourself in a very rural area. So whether they're from a small town in Missouri or a rural area in Arkansas, like yourself, they feel like they don't have anything to offer, and that's why they don't host. But you know firsthand that the opposite is true. You've talked about how you've been able to share so much with these students, and how do you feel like the role that your community, you're in the other, you've got your cabin, your church, your tradition, how do you feel like all of this plays a role in shaping the exchange experience for your students?
So the first thing I ask all of our kids is, did you want to come to Arkansas? And I know the answer is always no. Like they don't even know where Arkansas is, which is valid. I mean, not a lot of things happening here. And then I asked them where they wanted to come, and they almost always say the same thing. They wanted to go to LA, New York, or Miami. And I tell them, like, those places are great to visit. Like those are great, fun places to visit. And America truly is a melting pot. Like people come here from all over. But whenever they come here, that's where they go. That's that's where the multicultural places of America is. And then I tell them, but this where I live, this is real America. When you hear of people who are kind, people who are nice, people like they always talk about how we smile a lot. We smile a lot here more than what they do back home. And I believe that that's part of our culture here in the South is we love anybody who first of all needs a meal. If you're hungry in the South, just go tell a grandma. I mean, they're gonna fix that. And it's just little things like, you know, we've done this so many years now, and we all the girls are different, so we take them to different things. We do different things, but there's some things that are staples. Like we like to take them hiking because Arkansas is the natural state. Like let's go see some things that are you can't see in a city. We spent the whole summer this past summer visiting our kids in Europe, and one of the things that they got a kick out of was me talking about how there wasn't any trees. You know, there's no trees here. Like, where are your trees? And you know, when you get to the big city, it's very different. So there's you know every little town in America has got a culture. Every little town in America has a family that's busted it to get there. So I think that there's definitely a story every 20 miles. There's another story. Every 20 miles you go in America, there's a new culture, and it's going to be similar to 20 miles back, but it's going to be a little bit different. So, you know, for those people who think that there's nothing here, you know, I'm a school teacher and I teach kids who tell me all the time like I can't wait to get out of here. And I always ask them like why? Like why do you want to leave here? And they say I'm just bored. I'm bored all the time. And I tell people like I tell kids if you're bored here, like we're between two very freshwater lakes. We have rivers, we have streams, we have hiking. Like if you're bored here with all the free things that you can do, you're going to be bored wherever you go because you're not getting out of your house. You're not going and doing things. You're not adding to or taking in the culture that you're surrounded by. So, you know, there's a culture where you're living for sure. And part of being a host parent is showing them that.
So, looking back, how would you say you said that hosting girls has obviously softened you? That's something that you've mentioned already. But how else do you feel like hosting has changed you as a person, as a husband, and even like within your community?
So for one, it's made me get out of my house. Like I think as humans, we tend to get into routines and then we stick to those routines. You know, we don't like changing because changing is hard. If it was just me and my wife, we would right now be at our house, probably taking a nap after a day of school because we're exhausted, you know. But we're up here because Kina has volleyball practice. So it's getting me out more. It's making me go and enjoy the things that we have locally because I want to show them what we have locally. So that's, you know, I think about whenever I went to Europe this summer, whenever we were in Sweden, we went to the Stockholm Castle, you know. And whenever we went there, I don't remember if it was Carolina's mom or maybe her sister. And they said, I've lived here my whole life and I've never gone here. I've never been in here. And it took you guys coming for me to actually go and do this. And that's how I feel when the exchange students come here. It's like there's so many great things around where I live that I forget about or don't notice because I could do that another day. And then whenever you only have 9 months to show somebody, you go do that. So yeah. So that's, you know, I think that's the biggest thing is like, it keeps me out of a rut. It keeps me out of doing the same things every day. And sometimes that's exhausting and sometimes that's the most rewarding thing you could do.
I think that's such an amazing way to rediscover your local community as well, to see it through fresh eyes. So I want to talk a little bit about your experience as a parent. So we know that parenting, it's something personal. It's not something that everyone chooses to do. But you and your wife, you chose to become host parents and to take in exchange students. And do you feel like hosting has allowed you to experience parenting in a full and rewarding way?
If you would have asked me this before last year, I would have said, this is the easiest thing I've ever done. Carolina came into our lives from Sweden, and Carolina, I absolutely love Carolina. We still talk to her almost every day. We have a different relationship with her because Carolina, whenever we talked to her parents, they told us, hey, she has severe ADHD. She takes medicine, but when she's not on the medicine, like you're going to be able to tell. And I told myself, hey, I'm a school teacher who works with probably 20 kids with ADHD every day. So I'm going to be okay. Like this is going to be just fine. So you asked, have I gotten the full experience of being a parent? Every other student I've ever had, every other kid we've ever had, they kept their grades good. Like everything was good. I mean, there were a few issues every once in a while, but nothing big. Carolina tried us. She wasn't here for school. She was here to get an experience. And being school teachers, we have a hard time with that. So, we had to be on top of her a little more with her grades and her schoolwork. So my friends, we have some very close family friends, and whenever I would tell them, some of the things that we were going through with Carolina, they would just laugh and say, welcome to parenthood. Like you're getting the real experience now. You've had it easy. So yeah. So I mean, each year is different. Keena's come in. We don't have to talk about grades. I mean, her lowest grade right now, I think, is a 95%. So there's different things. So our energies are spent differently with each kid. We have to be flexible because each kid does come in different. They come in with a different skill set. They come in with different expectations. Mm. And I think some host families, they have problems with that because they have their own routines already and they're not as willing to bend, and I think that sometimes causes the most conflict when people aren't willing to change a little bit also.
Yeah, it does take some flexibility to be a host parent. And I think that's amazing that you've been able to offer that to all these students. And talking about hosting and becoming a host parents, for any of our listeners who might be on the fence about hosting, what else can you share today to help convince them to take that leap?
So I think one of the biggest that we live in a very poor state and a very poor county in the state. And one of the biggest worries for us, because we don't have kids, was fight. Can we do this financially? And whenever we went to the Czech Republic, we met with Barcha's local coordinator over there, because we still follow her on social media, and she does a great job getting the kids ready. And so we wanted to meet her and kind of talk to her, and of course she had questions for us. And I thought she had a great question. She said, "How much does it cost you guys?" And I think that that's sometimes the biggest fear is what is it going to cost? And I told her, I said, in all reality, the only thing it really costs us is food. In the South, if you can't afford to feed one more person, then you can't afford to eat yourself. So, it really wasn't, you know, it, it wasn't as expensive, I guess, as I thought it was going to be. Like, you know, we eat a little bit differently because she's here and we want to try different things all the time. So really, it's just the food. I mean, we go on trips usually over Thanksgiving and spring break. We usually, like, I think this Thanksgiving we're going to the beach, and that didn't cost us any more to bring just Sarah and I, or if it was to bring four people. Like, we got a condo on the beach, and we were going to go anyway. So that didn't cost us any more. The only time it cost us more is if we go to Disney World. We've done that once. We've gone to Universal Studios, like, and those are really like our gift to them. Like, hey, like, we want to experience this. We want you to be able to experience this. So, I mean, financially, like that was where I was worried, and I think we're doing okay. So, in all reality, if you broke it down, food was the only thing. And like I said, if you can't afford to feed one more person, then you can't afford to eat yourself. So,
And I think you're right. I think that is one a worry that it's something that we hear a lot. It's something that we have in our frequently asked questions, the cost of hosting. And I love what you share that it's really not something that has impacted you. And thank you for sharing that. Well, I just have one more question for you today, Jesse, and thank you so much. It's been amazing to hear from you. It's been amazing to hear the connections that you've made, the things that you've shared, how you seem to have learned so much from these students, but be able to help them um, grow as well and be able to experience that. And I'm so happy that you and your wife got to experience what it's like to be parents through hosting, what it's like to have an international family now. You have one son and many daughters scattered around the world. And my last question for you is if you had to sum up your hosting journey in one or two sentences, I know one sentence is hard, but what would it be?
I think my sentences would be that we live in the greatest place in the world, and we should be showing others that. They come here to go to school to learn the cultures and everything, but they really come here to see what is America. Like why why would people leave their homes to come here? Yeah. And I feel like it's my job as a host parent to show them why. Sorry just came. She's from Switzerland. She's already come back twice in 6 years. She's already come back twice. Like when a kid when a kid only has a couple weeks of vacation a year and they say, I want to come back to Flippin, Arkansas, and like they could go anywhere in the world, then I feel like we've done something right.
Absolutely. You've done your job as a host parent perfectly. Well, thank you so much again, Jesse. It was so wonderful to hear from you, to hear your story, and to see how much hosting has impacted you. So, thank you so much for sharing that with our listeners.
Thank you for having me on.